Good morning, brothers and sisters. It is 8:59. We will be starting in less than 60 seconds. Grab your coffee, grab your tea, but have a seat. We will be starting on time.
Solidarity greetings, brothers. Solidarity greetings, brothers and sisters. This year's conference theme echoes our commitment to your well being and growth, recognizing the increasing demands which often leads to teacher burnout and a decline in overall health. Global statistics mirror the challenges we face in Bermuda. Earlier this year in June, a survey found that nearly 40,000 UK teachers left the profession prematurely, while research in the US showed 82% of teachers facing high levels of stress. These numbers underscore the importance of our conference theme, emphasizing the crucial need for self care practices. Mentally, let this conference be a space where you recharge your spirit, refocus your energy, and renew your passions. Emotionally, may this be a time for you to repair any emotional fatigue, reignite your empathy, and rebuild your resilience. Physically, let us all prioritize our well being, nurturing our bodies and revitalizing our energy to ensure that we are equipped to handle the multifaceted roles we undertake daily. Professionally, let us embrace this conference as a catalyst for our collective growth and development. Let us seize this opportunity to exchange innovative ideas and reconnect in a collaborative spirit. Sustainably, let us remember that our ability to care for others is just as vital as our commitment to self care. We must encourage each other in the face of the ongoing pandemic and education reform as we stand on the shoulders of the visionary leaders of our union. Let us reaffirm our commitment to safeguard our legacy, honoring not only the sacrifices of our trailblazers, but also the daily sacrifices we continue to endure. As members of this union, we carry the torch lit nearly 105 years ago. Together, we form an unyielding force. Together, our impact as educators goes beyond the classroom. Together, we are the Bermuda Union of Teachers, and I officially welcome you to your 40th annual conference, Reloading. 'Reloading' in. 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 'Reloading'
Brothers and sisters, introducing our Vice President, Brother Jonathan Tankard.
Solidarity greetings, brothers and sisters. How are we this morning? Today, Monday, the 23rd of October, marks the beginning of our 40th annual conference. We welcome you to Reloading 2023. May you all be refreshed and refilled today as we focus on refilling you as our teachers. We extend warm greetings today to any of our union partners who are joining us. Brothers and sisters, in the midst of our joy in celebrating this morning comes a bit of sorrow. We want to take a moment to bow our heads and honor the legacy of a few of our fallen colleagues over the past few years. Sister Jackie Wilson, Sister Verlette Wilson, Sister Tori Baxter Taylor, Sister Beverly Taylor, and Sister Joanna Tavares. Sister Beverly Tavares. Brothers and sisters, join me for a moment of silence. Our most kind and gracious Heavenly Father, we come before you with gratitude and thanks. We come before you as the teachers charged with guiding our young people in this country of Bermuda. Lord, as we open our 40th annual conference, we pray that you give us grace and joy as we focus on refilling and refreshing ourselves. May this be a memorable and joyous conference, and may all be safe. In your name I pray, amen. Brothers and sisters, please welcome to the stage President Nashanti Bailey.
Solidarity greetings, brothers and sisters. Maybe we could do a little bit better than that. Solidarity greetings, brothers and sisters. Good morning to those of you present here with us at the Hamilton Princess. And of course, good morning to those of you who are joining us on Facebook or YouTube. It is indeed a pleasure, a humble pleasure to be able to greet you for my final time as the 40th president at the 40th annual conference. It is so funny about that number 40 because 40 just seemed to ring a lot during my tenure these last couple of years. We had the 40th anniversary of the 1981 strike, and then we had that battle of that 40-year agreement with the secondment that we're really not going to talk about this morning. But it caused me to actually stop and pause and look at what does the number 40 mean. And in short, you know, there's a whole lot of different definitions if you want to talk about spirituality or a biblical meaning of 40. But what really stuck out most for me was change, newness, and beginnings. And so that really stuck out for me over the last couple of years. And I think it's significant for the 40th annual conference when we look at our theme of reloading. Because as a union, we actually had to stop and rethink how we were going to approach representation of our members, and more specifically for today, how we were going to deliver the 40th annual conference for you. So when you looked at your conference offerings, you probably would have noticed that there was very minimal opportunities for professional development regarding pedagogy and instructional strategies and the like, because the newness and the change and the shift in how we represent it caused us to refocus to look at our members and what you need mentally, emotionally, physically, of course professionally, ultimately for the sustainability of this profession. Because I'm sure we all can agree and we can relate to the fact that with everything that's changing and all the newness in education reform, yes, expectations from administration in your buildings and administration up the top, yes, the newness of the clients that we have in our classrooms that have changed over the years. Even our parents have changed over the years. The expectations are growing, and it's just so much that we just end up being, some of us, just tired, right? And I think that Eddie B last year in 2022, he actually probably summed it up pretty good for us in his little video clip.
Don't nobody bother me today, because I woke up on the wrong side of the T-chart. Most of the teachers out, I'm gonna have 40 to 60 kids in my class that ain't even mine. It turned me into the world's first step teacher. They had to go get the crossing guard to cover kindergarten. Trainings, meetings, and we gotta teach. I can't be everywhere at one time. I am not air. Each week, I make it a point not to respond to at least 2 school emails. Admin asked me why I be ignoring the emails. So y'all can feel how we feel when we beg for support. A parent asked why her son got a 70. He really made a 49. The little boy say, I'm wrong. I said, boy, you better tell your little attitude to scoot up, because you about to trigger my uncertified side. I'm about to start acting pre-contract-ish. This school is making me weaken the teaks. The lady say the teaching is her superpower. Teacher superpower is teaching all day long and not being able to go to the bathroom. We hold it like champions. I know teachers right now that got bladder infections because they held it for a semester. We ain't just teachers. We are professional pee holders. That's why I don't let my students go to the restroom, because I'm jealous. The janitor had the offer to watch my class because he said I looked like I needed a break. When I came back, I said thank you. He said you're welcome. Then he quit. Mr. Brown, how do you make it through the day? I just close my eyes and make believe that I'm on my 3rd gin and tonic.
Can I get a witness? And sometimes we do have to just take a moment and laugh, right? To just bring us back to some sort of place of sanity. But the reality is, that is the reality for many of us. You know, our children, our classrooms take up a huge part of our lives. But globally, internationally, when you look at what is happening in education right now, the reality is there's a teacher shortage. Many teachers are not waiting to retirement before they exit. Many new teachers just about make it to 5 years. Some of them wait till the 8th year and they're like, let me get that payout and let me peace out, right? And it's a serious concern for education because the world needs us. We are the architects of the next, building the next generation. And so there's a global teacher shortage. Teachers are leaving the profession. They're feeling unsupported. They're feeling burnt out. They are tired. We are tired, right? And it's a call for us to stop and look at the teacher. And so now a year later, Eddie B actually talks about the teacher shortage.
We're about to be out of stock.
Driven by burnout.
We weary.
Low pay.
Low pay, no pay, slow pay. Can't even afford a copay.
And increasing demands.
They always increase them.
70% of educators have thought about leaving the profession
They ain't thought about it. They walked up at it.
out of frustration with the job.
Boiled over like a pot of grits.
As a former teacher, you made a tough decision.
That decision wasn't tough at all.
Why did you decide to leave the teaching profession?
How much time you got, Sugar Tips?
For my mental health,
Look like she still got symptoms.
it was just too much to do.
That's before you clock in.
It was very overwhelming to have to try to catch kids up 1, 2, 3, 4 grade level.
Sometimes 5, 6, 7, 8 grade levels.
I mean, is that because of COVID?
Now, this was back when we could cough in public.
And the people.
Sound like they pushed you through some grade levels.
I think it's partly because of that. I was an online teacher for 2 years, which I loved.
Because your wine is a room away.
The kids are just kind of passed along.
Like a rumor.
And so I think where it brings us to the point of acknowledging and realizing that it's not just us in Bermuda. This is actually globally. And so as a union, when we look at our international partners, Education International, the Caribbean Union of Teachers, they've actually put out a call to unions, to administrations, to shift the focus from saying, yes, we're here for the students, and yes, the students first, and students are our priorities, which has been the narrative for so long. But they're putting out a huge call to say, we have to focus on the teacher. And not the teacher in the classroom, the teacher as a person. What does that teacher like to do in their personal time? How much time are you spending with your family members? How often are you trying something different and new that's for you? And so today, that's what reloading is all about. Taking a pause from our everyday life in the classroom to stop and enjoy something different, something new, something mindless that can be therapeutic. And that's why we chose this theme. And the union has made a decision to ensure that health and wellness of our members is a part of our mandate moving forward, to show that our teachers have to be the priority, because when we have happy, healthy teachers who feel great 360, we are going to have the best architects in those classrooms so that we have the best for our communities. And so today we have a charge for you. Health and wellness of our teachers, something that's very special to get you to kickstart your day today, but also for the rest of the school year. So brothers and sisters, I present to you your conference charge to kick off your reloading. Let's give a round of applause to Miss Shalita Shaw.
Good morning and welcome, Bermuda Union of Teachers. It is an absolute privilege to be with you today, and I am honored to speak with you about reloading. Now, you might ask yourself, what is she going to tell me about reloading? What could she possibly understand about us reloading? Well, here's the truth. I am Shalita Shaw. I am a tenured professor, and I've been doing this over 20 years. But it is within the last few years that I, too, had to go through a reloading. Listen, in the fall of 2020, I had one of the most tumultuous years of my life, not to mention one of the most tumultuous semesters. The truth is, my parents had grown ill and they ended up going to heaven. And so how I was going to deal with that while still being a teacher, not just a teacher, but a teacher during the pandemic, was something that I would soon discover would neither be easy nor would it be a challenge I could not meet. Here's the deal. In the middle of all of that, I learned that although the big buzzword, right, everything that people were saying about teachers revolved around the word burnout, I discovered that what we have going on is really not burnout. What's going on with teachers, and I mean the good teachers, you know, the ones that are here really to impact the lives of another generation, the ones who show up so that we can change their minds and impact their lives, the good teachers like myself. Here's the truth. We haven't burned out. Burnout would be too simple. What is going on with us is we have a broken spirit. Where does the school, where does the classroom, where does administration come in then if we have a broken spirit? I'll tell you, the first thing they need to do is stop waiting on a specific incident to occur. Don't let an accident happen before you pay attention to the mental, emotional, physical, professional, and sustainable mood and position and disposition of your teacher. Let that become your norm. Let that become your everyday commitment to the teachers. Because here's the truth. When you take care of the teachers take care of the students. Our call on our life is to be good teachers to those we have been assigned to. But in order to do that, the oil must run top down. The oil must run top down. Let me say that again. The oil must run top down. And so how can that be done? Well, I'll tell you. On my journey, I discovered 5 key things that led me to the definition of broken spirit. If you identify with any of these 5 things, then I absolutely charge you to start recognizing them, being honest about them, being authentic about them, so that we can start teaching from the place that I teach now. It is the intersection of trauma and triumph. So here's the 5 things. First, we start to have absenteeism. Now, not just being absent, because that's a normal thing that will happen with any professional. But for teachers, when we're absent, we love to tell you why. Our daughter has a dentist appointment. We have to go see about our parent. When we start being absent and we no longer give a reason why, that is a sign of broken spiritness. What about our attire? Listen, I'll be honest and tell you, there was a time that if I could put on yoga pants and Crocs and a sweatshirt, school sweatshirt, but if I could put on that sweatshirt and get to class, I was doing good. That is a sign. We love to impress our students. Part of what we teach them is how to show up in the world. When that stops happening, it's a sign. When we stop doing volunteerism, when we're not doing extracurricular activities, when we're no longer willing to stay after, we're out the door as soon as the students are out the door, that is a sign. We're not being insubordinate. We are actually calling for help. Somebody pay attention to the fact that I'm not doing okay. I'm not burnt out, though, because the curriculum is still turned in. The lesson plans are still turned in. I am actually showing up. I haven't missed an email, but the assignments are not as effective because we're in broken spiritedness. Another thing is all of those outside relationships. Co-workers, we're meeting up for lunch. We're taking walks during our lunchtime and campus time are no longer happening. That is a sign of absenteeism. And when we're no longer giving a reason why, because again, teachers love to talk. Y'all know it. Exhibit A. When we're no longer doing that, that is a sign of broken spiritedness. And then the final one, the biggest one, if I can confess for me, I take great pride in knowing the names of my students. And during that time that I spoke to you about, I didn't retain any names. I started doing things like, yes, sir. Good morning, beautiful. Yes, ma'am. You have a question, ma'am? That is a sign of broken spiritedness. See, when it's hard for you to show up in the world, you have a hard time showing up for them. You have a hard time showing out for them. And so what I'm asking, I am asking the Bermuda Union of Teachers to take a moment. Think about this list. If you identify with 1, 2, or all of those things, please know it's not you, it's us. We're in this together. And you have an opportunity now to deal with that authentic place. That space that allows you to be honest about the challenges and the struggles. That space that allows you, like me, to teach from trauma and from triumph. That is the charge. And I make it not because it happened to me. I make it because if I can move through it, you can move through it. But the only way to move through it is for us to do it together. So from administration to the union to my beloved teachers, I offer you a space where we can now teach, not looking for the darkness, but watching for the yellow. I'm Shalita Shaw, and it has been a privilege to talk to you this morning. I love you. Mwah.
Brothers and sisters, Sister Shalita Shaw. She's a tenor professor over 20 years, and she is currently traveling the world, speaking on and feeding into communities regarding classroom wellness. And she will be coming to Bermuda, to the Bermuda Union of Teachers, at some point this year. So let's give her another round of applause. So before we actually move on to our next experiences and close the opening ceremony, I just want to take a time to acknowledge your 2022 and 2023 conference committee who has curated your weekend of experiences, and especially those that you will engage in today. So Brother Jonathan Tankard, Sister Laurel Burns, if you can stand and be acknowledged, Sister Candace Darrow, Sister Princine Bailey, Sister Maxine Webb, Sister Cicely Richardson, Sister Denise Hill, Madam Trustee Nolene Jones-Seymour, Sister Gail Williams, Sister Denise Booth, and Sister Melanie Seymour. Oh, right, and Sister Makila Mean, because she's probably somewhere around here doing something. They have worked very hard over the past 2 years presenting last year's conference Red, and then this year's conference, which I am going to say it, the weekend was put together within a month. Okay, so everything that you've experienced over these past 4 days, stay tuned for the extreme sports that was, we had to postpone due to the weather. We will be having that because we do understand that there are some serious challenges that, I heard, they're ready to take on the field. So that will be postponed at a later date. But this committee has been an extreme pleasure to work with. They can't see you, lot. Turn around. They've been an extreme pleasure to work with, dedicated, working hard to put together this conference experience for you. Alrighty, so before we move on to the next phase, just to remind you of some highlights that's actually happening for today. Your workshop experiences will start at either 9:30, 10 o'clock, whether you are here at the hotel or if you are out and about in the community. Lunch is at your leisure. And we mean that. A couple of people were asking about, what time's lunch? How long do I have? How much time do you need to reload? Today is about you. Who do you wish to reload with? Where do you wish to reload? We are very serious about the call for you to pause and take care, feed, and fuel yourself, okay? The Health Expo will be opening at 11:30. Downstairs, there will be a host of vendors who will give you some information on services. There will be some massages there. We actually, by popular demand, bought back the Hannah because that was a huge hit yesterday at the vendors market. I saw a couple of snaps out there. And there will be some health checks, some stress tests, and also some other just mindless therapeutic experiences for you to engage in downstairs in the Princess Ballrooms. It's really beautiful down there, even if you just want to be out on the patio. That will be open until 3:30 p.m. And then conveniently, we have scheduled the Biennial General Conference to take place in this room here at 2 p.m. And we did put in brackets AGM because that term is more familiar with everyone, but the Biennial General Conference is the official forum where you will hear the reports of the officers and the work that was done by the union over the past 2 years. So we hope that those of you who are here at Hamilton Princess will come back for the biennial. Those of you who are enjoying experiences outside of the hotel, we hope that you will come back as well, if you wish. If that is a part of your reloading experience, okay? Today, I reiterate, is about you and what you need to do for you so that by the end of today, you leave feeling refreshed and ultimately reloaded. And so, to kick us off for our reloading experience, we're going to go to basic terms. Basic terms. Please welcome Brother Tino Martinez, who's going to just make us happy. Let's give him a round of applause.
Brothers and sisters, thank you for coming to our opening ceremony. Enjoy your day of reloading.
Okay, brothers and sisters, we are about to begin the panel discussion in less than 60 seconds. We do also have the live stream that will be going live in a moment. The live stream is live. So if we can get to our seats, and of course, during the panel discussion, you can still feel free to get up at your leisure to enjoy coffee, tea, and water. Welcome to our featured panel discussion, Fully Charged. Our moderator for today's discussion is Ms. Keisha Allen Smith. She's the Director of Staff Development and Instruction at the Barkley Institute. She is also the owner and director of Target Learning and Love and Light Empowerment. Her businesses offer academic coaching services in mathematics and English language arts for students of all ages, as well as personal and professional development workshops and coaching sessions. Her services are available to corporate clients, groups, and individuals, and they are offered virtually or in person. She was born and raised on the island of Bermuda and has delivered workshops to local and international audiences. These workshop topics include understanding the impact of trauma and stress, mindfulness, growth mindset, self-care, and balancing work, life, and home. Keisha is the proud author of 77 Ways to Reduce Stress and Energize Your Life. This energy guide helps people choose healthy habits, and it includes a 52-week habit tracker to support the wellness journey. Keisha is passionate about empowering people to manage stress, increase their energy levels, and improve their physical, mental, emotional, and spiritual well-being. In her spare time, she loves to learn, walk, swim, do yoga, connect with nature, and spend time with her family. Brothers and sisters, please welcome our sister in the BUT, Sister Keisha Allen Smith.
Greetings, everyone, and thank you for the introduction. Today, we are excited to have our panelists with us. As educators, we are ready to be fully charged, and we are looking forward to being equipped with the essential tools to revitalize and thrive. My name is Keisha Allen Smith, your moderator for today. Our esteemed panelists, each expert in their fields, will share with us perspectives on the challenges they see us facing as teachers, as well as actionable strategies for navigating emotional wellness, maintaining optimal foot health, managing mental health, and mastering stress management techniques. Today, we aim to inspire and empower educators. Today, we offer an opportunity to see how you can navigate the demands of the profession while placing a premium on your well-being. Please take a moment as we go through today to scan right now the link you see on the screen, or you can type in the code so that you can access our Menti. As the panel discussion goes on, you can input your questions, and when we get to the end in time for Q&A, we will reference your questions from the Menti. So take a moment to please scan or type in the code. And we'll leave that on the screen for a second. And for the audience at home, please do the same, and we can also capture your questions as well. And now we're going to start off by hearing a bit from each panelist about the work that they do in their respective fields. First, we'll begin with Dr. Ernest Peets. He's a founding member of MASC Limited, a service for males to support their navigation through personal challenges and grow to live up to their highest potential. Dr. Peets has extensive training in counseling and therapy, with clients ranging from young people to families or couples, and those struggling with addiction. Today, Dr. Peets is here to support us as educators. Dr. Peets, welcome.
Well, thank you so much for the invitation to be here this morning. We're thoroughly excited. I woke up very, very early this morning, just before 6 o'clock, with thoughts about being here with Bermuda Union of Teachers. I'm married to an educator. My oldest daughter just joined your group as a teacher. I know from the inside out on some of the challenges that you guys have in your classrooms and what's going on socially with our children, particularly our boys. So I'm really excited to be here this morning to lend my voice and a little bit of experience to your discussion. So thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Dr. Peets, and we look forward to hearing more from you. Our next panelist is Beth Hollis. She is a co-founder and physiotherapist at Ocean Rock Wellness. She has a dynamic approach to wellness and believes in being a lifelong learner, bringing new skills and ideas to her team. Beth is also a certified heart math practitioner, which means she can help people de-stress by connecting to their heart and to their breath for a unique healing experience. Beth, we'd love to hear more about you, about what you do at Ocean Rock Wellness.
Good morning, everyone. Happy to be here. Beth Hollis here, and representing Ocean Rock Wellness, we have an amazing integrated team of healthcare providers that really want to help you become your own best doctor. So it's all about educating, empowering, and really getting to the root cause of what could be your medical issue. I'm a physiotherapist, and heart math is something that I got into trying to help people get to why their cranky nervous system was keeping them in pain. So I took a deep dive into understanding the nervous system and how it responds to stress, and then when you actually nourish your nervous system, which I hope we talk about today, you can de-stress and actually tap into your body's own ability to heal itself. So I look forward to sharing that with you.
Thank you, Dr. Hollis, and thank you, Beth Hollis, and I am excited about that because that stress management is an area that I'm interested in as well. Next, we have Dr. Jermaine Binns. He is the distinguished male podiatrist dedicated to the specialized care of the foot and ankle. Over 20 years ago, he established his clinic where he offers comprehensive medical and surgical treatments for disorders of the foot and ankle, with a specialization in diabetic wound management and limb salvage. His expertise includes podiatric medicine and surgery with postgraduate certification in clinical diabetes management. Dr. Benz, tell us a bit more about your journey.
Good morning, thanks for having me. I am a podiatrist. I've been working in Bermuda, as was stated, for over 20 years. But I like to think of my approach not just as working with the foot and ankle, but how systemic diseases affect the lower limb. Oftentimes, a culmination of lifestyle, hormonal changes will all have a pathological effect that will warrant someone coming to my office. My job is more of a salvage operator. If you get to me, it means that a lot of things have gone wrong, and so it's more of a holistic approach dealing with the general practitioner, diabetologist, in order to get you back on track. Bermuda, as far as the OECD countries, is number 30 as far as limb amputations. The rate of amputations increases with ladies due to diabetes and lack of estrogen, which is a natural cholesterol blocker. And so when you combine that with the type of work you do, the stress, sometimes your diets are not balanced, a lack of exercise because of de-stress in unhealthy ways, you end up with me, and we try to prevent the notice from happening.
Thank you very much. And as you see, everything's connected, right? So there's root causes of some of those issues can be seen within the foot and ankle. And so glad that we have the array of panelists that we have here today. And finally, we have our last panelist, Dr. Leonard Gibbons. Dr. Leonard Gibbons is the Health Ministries Director for the Bermuda Conference of Seventh-day Adventists, as well as the Lifestyle Intervention Specialist for Bermuda Wellness and Outreach Center. His areas of expertise include public health nutrition, dietetics, herbal medicine, hydrotherapy, and lifestyle medicine. Dr. Gibbons, please tell us a bit about yourself.
Sure. A lot of people go to a physician and they come with all sorts of problems. Well, in reality, they are not problems, they are symptoms. And what I like to look at is the real underlying factors. And there's an acronym that I followed. It's New Start: nutrition, exercise, water, sunlight, ear rest, trusting more and stressing less. It's all about getting in balance. And when people get in balance, all these, quote, diseases tend to disappear. So it's all about understanding how every hour we are all connected. And in fact, your body is attempting to heal you through diabetes. If you understand what it's trying to do and follow its lead, you will end up with a life free of diabetes. So I'm going to be talking about nutrition in particular, which indeed is medicine. Food is what? Food is medicine. It's more powerful than any drug on the planet. So, welcome.
Thank you very much. And, before we go any further, I also would like to thank the BUT and the conference team for dedicating this conference to us related and to wellness, because it's so important. I often say teaching or education is one of the most stressful careers to be in. You'll never see a doctor or lawyer be in a room with 20 patients at once trying to help them all at one time. And as educators, that's essentially what we do, right? We are trying to impart knowledge, manage behaviors, and everything else that comes along with educating students within a classroom. And it can become very stressful because on top of that, we have administrative work. We have to dialogue with colleagues. We have to input grades. We have to plan. There's so many things that add to our levels of stress. And I think essentially we don't realize, because sometimes it's our day-to-day, right? And we don't understand how much stress we're in. And Beth mentioned our nervous system, and we are pretty much operating in fight or flight mode all day long, even if we don't even understand it. If you wake up to the sound of your alarm clock, you're already triggering that stress response mode in your body, right? So it's important for us today here in person as well as online to just pay attention and take in as much as we can, because we really have to be intentional about building in things into our day to allow us to pause or reset. We can't just continuously wait for conferences like this, we have to build it into our daily habits. So again, thank you to the Bermuda Union of Teachers for recognizing this need and for organizing this panel. So as we go along, I would just like to let you know the format. Some questions will be addressed to all panelists and some will be directed to specific panelists. As I said, please type any questions you have onto the Mentileak and we'll get to them at the end. Okay, so this first question is for everyone. As educators, we have transitioned out of the pandemic into a workplace where the environment and those whom we serve has shifted. Additionally, technology for society has evolved in a way that impacts our interactions and performance expectations. What trends have you noticed as a result of changes to the nature of your work? And anyone can answer first.
All right, I can take a stab at that one. So I have 2 young kids who are at Harrington Sound Primary. Yeah. And I feel you about changes. I mean, I have a son who was struggling with reading and you know, lots of things going on. And the changes, really, I do blame tech. You know, with all that screen time and then trying to go back. I don't know how entertaining you guys have to be to compete with YouTube and all those short videos that they're attracted to, right? Getting their attention spans back. So I think everyone just having a little bit of care and compassion. I see a lot of young kids come into my office who I help with stress and some of the symptoms they have associated with that. So I think if we all just treat each other, you know, through, I like to call them love goggles, right? Like having that heartfelt emotion and compassion towards each other as we all have to transition from what we thought it was to what it is now. But just, yeah, give each other a hug once in a while and get through your day together.
Thank you.
I guess, you know, in some respects, people don't show up or people are fearful, you know. They don't want to get sick or cool, and they're always thinking the worst possible scenario. And I think one of the greatest solutions is to get out in nature. There's something about being in nature. We know that green trees, wherever there's green and wherever there's surf, it creates negative ions, and these negative ions in the air decrease your stress response. There was a study that looked at Japanese who were in the cities, and they were all stressed out. They took them on an outing for 2 hours in the forest, and all of the stress scores went right down. So they were breathing in the fragrant air from the pine forest, which actually lowered their stress response. So they went from you know, the stress response to rest and restore. So it's importance of getting out of nature and letting people know, breathe in the air. You follow me? Don't worry about the air. Don't, you know, breathe in the air. You know, and there are techniques for breathing in that will take your stress from a 10 to a 1. So all of these are important things. I try to encourage people to get in tune with nature.
Yeah, some of you might remember when we had lockdowns and when we had restrictions about gathering. We started Mass actually during COVID. So actually our first client was telehealth. And we weren't really sure whether or not that was actually going to work, you know, because individual therapy and group therapy typically take place in person. There was this thing about the environment and about building a relationship and rapport with your client, and having that close proximity is a large part of that. But we couldn't do that during COVID. And what we were really surprised about was how quickly and how often our phone kept ringing during COVID, and how easily we were able to sort of transition towards telehealth. And telehealth still is a major part of how some mental health services are actually still being delivered even today. So for us at Mass, we were really, really excited about the opportunity to offer some mental health services during COVID, because COVID sort of galvanized this idea or this problem that perhaps everyday life was sort of keeping us distracted. But once we were locked down, unable to move, and had to focus on ourselves and focus on our relationships, having an opportunity to actually get on Zoom or get on WebEx or whatever medium that we were using, to have an opportunity for some of these guys to actually talk things out and share some things that were on their mind were really, really helpful. So have we changed back to in-person? We certainly have, and that's also been a wonderful thing as well. But some of our clients still actually stay on telehealth, which is quite interesting.
Thank you very much. And
I think one of the main things I've noticed, and it started pre-COVID, but definitely post-COVID, is the socioeconomic implications of COVID and the rise in cost of the delivery of healthcare. So you have people who, at payday, they have to decide between a bill or whether to go see their healthcare provider. There's talk of a national health plan, but during that process, people are still struggling. And so as a result, the stress alone worsens whatever underlying problems they have. And so it's very difficult as a practitioner when you're dealing with someone and you're trying to prescribe a treatment plan and they're telling you that they can't afford to come in. The other thing is, we notice a phenomenon where parents are almost holding children are almost holding their parents hostage because they're afraid to bring them out because of the chance that they might get COVID. And so you have parents that have become almost like prisoners in their own home. And you can see the deterioration, not just in their physical health, but their mental health as well. And I think that is something that hasn't really been discussed and needs to be discussed. Because if you look at the government pension, let's say if you get $1,500, if you have to then buy medication, that hurts at the end of the day. The CDC have determined that in the United States, if a person has type 2 diabetes, $15,000 a year goes towards medication. If you only get $1,500 a month in Bermuda, the cost of living, the impact of that is devastating.
Well, thank you very much for that. And as you can see from the responses of all our panelists, you see that the impact, it has implications on all ages, no matter what generation, from our seniors right down to our children. And so, I want us to remember as we go through this that we ourselves, we're kind of in the middle there, right? And many of us, not only do we have the stress of the day-to-day activities that we have with work, we take on the stresses and the challenges of our students. Their behaviors have changed. Many of them are now experiencing, we see higher levels of anxiety and depression. And then for us, some of us have to, again, deal with aging parents at home, right? So that adds another level of stress, as well as the finances. So we can see that the impact is far-reaching, and it's something we definitely have to be mindful of. So this next question is going to be addressed to Dr. Peets. What are some warning signs or symptoms that teachers should be mindful of that could indicate they are experiencing burnout or broken spirit, or other health-related issues, and what steps should they take if they notice these signs?
So we're going to just jump right in, aren't we? I would imagine when we walk into a room, the first thing you might notice is the temperature. And what tells you the temperature, of course, is the thermostat. The thermostat doesn't regulate the temperature. It indicates what the temperature actually is. For us, at least in my experience anyway, first way I would probably answer the question is you might want to be mindful of your mood, how you're feeling, what you're thinking. A negative mood sustained over time, of course, creates all sorts of issues and problems. There's also accumulated stress. Teachers are dealing with stress in the classroom, stress from administration, stress from parents. Also, we have to remind yourselves that teachers are also people. You still have parenting to do, husband and wife things to do, still got to pay mortgages and things of that nature. So be mindful of my mood, and tracking that mood is an indicating, at least to me anyway, on where my mental health may be going, and perhaps maybe something I might want to check in as relates to sort of addressing, dealing with my accumulated stress. I married a teacher, so she's in the third year of teaching, so you guys might laugh at this. I actually thought she'd be home at 4 o'clock every day. I really did. I figured she'll be leaving St. David's Primary at 3:30. She'd be home about 4 o'clock, 4:15. Time I get home from work, the house is clean, dinner's already started, the laundry's already been done. Come to find out, it's actually the opposite. She's coming home 6 o'clock in the evening. I'm cooking and cleaning, and then retire to the bedroom, and there are books and sheets and computers, and she's doing lesson plans, and we have to convert another bedroom into a little home office, and she may crawl into bed around about 11 o'clock, 11:30 at night. Does that sound familiar? And what happens is, over time, that type of lifestyle, that type of stress, now, she loves her job, just like you, and you're willing to do as much as you can, to sacrifice as much as you can. But what happens is then we lose track of how we're feeling, we don't manage our accumulated stress, and then pretty soon we find ourselves frustrated, we're snapping at our coworkers, we're unable to meet deadlines, we're having problems with sleeping. So the question ended up with, well, what do you think we should do about that? Attend these conferences, of course, but don't just use them as a tick box. Take something from these conferences, try to find a way to apply them to your life so that, one, you can regulate your mood. One of the reasons why we stop for coffee in the morning before to go to work is because coffee is a good what? Mood regulator. Come on now, isn't that the reason why we do it? Right? It's a good business model, sell coffee to people, helps them manage their day. Some people can't start their day without it. I didn't start my day without it. But also do something about your accumulated stress. So a lot of these individuals on this panel are going to talk about stress and how stress affects the central nervous system and how stress actually affects the body, including disease. Teachers are under extreme amount of stress. You guys have demands upon you that are perhaps in some regard a bit unreasonable, at least in my opinion, and you got to find a way to sustain all that. So I know most teachers are looking forward to midterm and then Christmas, but a lot of your breaks, of course, you find yourself here. And so please take some advice today. Take care of yourself. If you can take care of yourself better, you will make yourself happier at home and happier in the classroom.
Thank you very much. Does anyone else want to add to that question or respond to that question? We're open. Yep, you can if you want. Okay, all right, and I'll just add to that. Yes, we get these breaks, so this is our midterm break, and I just want to challenge everyone in the audience. On Wednesday and Thursday and Friday, don't spend your time on house projects. I know that's what we all tend to do. We're like, oh, I have a break coming, and we make a whole itinerary for what we need to get done, and then again, we're not resting, we're not reloading, right? And so, or at least set aside at least 2 days for yourself, for your own self, for self-care, whether that be, taking yourself to the spa or spending the day in bed or going outside in nature, right? And if you've read my book, 77 Ways to Reduce Stress and Energize Your Life, I have an energy formula that I actually live by. The E is for exercise, the N is for nature, the second E is for eating well, R is for rest and relaxation, G, ground and get your mind right, and Y, you come first, right? And so try to engage in that energy formula. Find something for each category. And then there are some activities you can do. Something as simple as walking for stress management is very helpful. And when you're walking, you're hitting multiple points of that energy formula, right? You're exercising, you're out in nature. You can get your mind right as you're going, whether you're tuned into, got your headphones on and you're walking, or you're just listening to the sounds of nature and observing as you walk. And you come first, right? That why. You're putting yourself first by taking that time out for a walk. So there are so many things we can do to help reduce stress. It's just a matter of us becoming intentional and remembering that we have to set out time to do things for self-care.
Let me just say something on that point. We were talking about walking, and there's a concept I was introduced some time ago. There is what we call hypertonic fatigue and hypotonic fatigue. And hypertonic fatigue is the fatigue that comes when we are mentally engaged constantly, and it causes constriction, of blood vessels and muscles. Like every second it's contracting 2 or more times. And so this constant contraction leads to aches and pain. When we get out and move, the contraction is less than that. So you move 1 foot ahead and it's contraction while what? The other muscle is relaxing, right? And it creates hypotonic fatigue. So the muscle becomes relaxed and lets go. So if you're in the classroom all day with this mental fatigue, it's making you tight and tense. And at the end of the day, you don't want to move. You just want to plump down, eat something, just zone out. But what you need to do to burn off the stress hormones that are surging and that tightness in your muscular system is to walk, to get out and move. And as you're moving, you're breathing in the fresh air. And that'll help you burn off all that energy, that nervous energy that you built up because you're inside all day dealing with 10, 20, 30 kids. The only way is to get out. Get out in nature. Go along the beach where the negative ions come in and de-stress.
Absolutely. And to add to that, while we're in school, let's get back to taking our children outdoors. There are some activities we can move the classroom outside, and that's going to benefit us as adults as well as the children. Yes.
Yes, inside is the worst place to stay. It creates positive ions, which makes you depressed and anxious. And the more kids are clumped together, the more likely they're going to be stressed out. So get them out.
Thank you very much. Okay, our next question is for everyone. So tell us about some ways you see stress showing up in educators that you serve. Anyone can go first.
So as a physiotherapist, I see a lot of people with the muscle tension that was just described. And of course, they want to jump in and hit the gym and do lots of exercise, and they notice they're still not getting better or having a lot of injuries. And what we have to do is flip the switch on their nervous system, that nervous system that I mentioned. So a brief understanding is that when you're in fight or flight, that sympathetic phase, your heart rate's going, your blood pressure's high, you've got tension in your muscles, and the worst part about it is your blood flow is directed to your arms and legs so you can run or fight. Well, if your blood flow isn't directed to your organs for healing, right, you can see why then you end up with delayed healing. And it might just not be the injury that I'm helping with. It could be the diabetes or mental health. Your body's not in a healing phase. So I help people flip the switch over to the parasympathetic, which is rest and digest. Just think of that as the brakes. Right? We're slowing the heart rate, we're slowing the breathing, we're getting the blood flow back to the organs so you can detox and digest and all that good stuff. So really, once you understand you need to be in that parasympathetic state and how to get there, it really supports your healing. So there is a long list of habits you can do to get into a parasympathetic state. And one of my favorites is a heart math technique where you are focusing on your breath and then bringing your awareness to your heart. So the reason this works is because when you take intentional big breaths, one, your mind is in your body, so our mind isn't thinking about the past or jumping to the future, right? We're in the present moment. So you need to be in the present moment to de-stress. And when you take these big, juicy breaths, you activate your vagus nerve, which is that switch from the stress sympathetic state to parasympathetic state. And then heart math, they said, listen, our heart has an electromagnetic field all the way around us. And when we can get into a loving vibration, it actually calms our brain. So let's go through the heart, because we have more pathways from the heart up to our brain than the brain down. So we have so much intelligence in our heart. And it's that feeling, you know, when you walk into the classroom and the kids are all having fun, they know how to live in their heart, right? So we can take a little lesson from our kids. They seek happiness, and we have to do the same. It's like what we heard earlier. If you're stuck in that low mood, you're vibrating at that lower frequency, right? And that's not a healing state. So you have to be mindful of the state you're in and choose a better state, which is very easy. Choose to be happy. And if you're confused about what makes you happy, then you need to dig a little deeper and look at your calendar and say, oh, going outside and walking on the beach makes me happy? When's the last time did I do that? You know, some of my clients tell me everything that they love to do, but they're not doing it because they haven't prioritized their own health. So once you really invest in your own health, you can shift your healing so quickly and be surprised that all these little aches and pains and niggles start to go away because you're better aligned and you're in a heartfelt place. So I could ramble on this topic for a while, but let me pass the mic.
Thank you. That's very helpful.
I think one of the main things I would say is, as educators, put yourselves first. That sounds like a difficult thing to do if all the demands are asked of you as educators. But the only time I see educators is during school breaks, because they don't have the time and the schedule doesn't permit them to come. And so often you see them, they have hypertension, high cholesterol, all induced by diet and stress. How do we change that dynamic, that paradigm? Whether it's through negotiating time for medical appointments, I don't know. That's a bigger question. But I do know that the only time you come shouldn't be during a school break. If a person is ill, they should be afforded time to deal with it, whether it be mental or physical. I have a Saturday clinic from 9 to 1, and it's primarily for people who can't get in during the week. I'll come in at 7 o'clock in the morning. I would take the first person in at 7:30. Often it's a nurse, police officer, or school teacher. And those are the ones that are making it, you know, the commitment to the health. There are a lot that don't.
That's very insightful, you know, and it's true. We do wait to our breaks to schedule those appointments. And so something could be building or faster in that in-between time, so we have to.
Just like the average person.
Yes, yeah. And look, right, some of us, raise your hand if you have any type of appointment on Wednesday, Thursday, or Friday. Look at that. Look at that, right? And these are supposed to be our days for breaks, right? So we see that it's true, yes.
In terms of patients or people that come, and I think it's all about poor coping mechanisms, how we're dealing with the stressors. So they may be overweight, they may, you know, they eat a lot of processed foods, right? And one of the reasons we do that is because it gives us a sense we feel nice. It distracts us. But the problem is it's short-lived. It's only a temporary thing, and it leaves us worse off than we were before. So we really need to do the right thing, the best thing, and the best thing is actually, from a nutritional standpoint, is to adjust your diet. Now, let me give you a real practical thing to do that will help lower depression. Consume 9 servings of fruit and vegetable a day. Now, there was a study that compared individuals that consumed essentially no fruits and vegetables, so they eat all the processed, highly delicious, nice feeling, nice tasting stuff, right? And they had the highest rates of depression. And the ones that consume 9 or more servings of fruits and vegetables have the lowest rates of depression. So what is 9 servings? Well, half a cup is considered a serving. Okay, so a cup is like 2 servings, unless it's green leafy vegetables, right? So a cup is a serving, but most fruits and vegetables are half a cup is a serving. And as the servings go up, the depression goes down. The energy goes up. The positive feelings go up. The question is why? Why does that happen? One of the major drivers of depression is actually inflammation. They give people certain drugs because for chemotherapy or what have you, and the chemicals that are given for that actually end up with 50% higher levels of depression because they create inflammation. So anything that creates inflammation creates what? Depression, right? And so our typical junk foods, they are all inflammatory. They all increase inflammation. So if you decrease those and increase fruits and vegetables, your depression will actually decrease. Not only that will happen, your weight will decrease. Your blood pressure will decrease. Your energy will increase. You feel like a new person. You try it. Isn't that amazing? The fruits and vegetables are expensive, and the things that make us sick are cheaper. Yes. What is going on here? That is by design, but when I get to that. So you do the best with what you can, right? Okay? But you got to make that switch. And if you make that switch, you cut down the refined, increase the more whole foods, and the depression, the anxiety would go down just by adjusting what you take in.
Yes, absolutely. And that is so important for us as educators, because just like the video in the opening ceremony where, Ms. Shaw talked about how we have to hold our urine, right? We don't get a chance to go to the bathroom. Same thing with our food. Sometimes we get to the end of the day and we haven't eaten our lunch, right? So what happens? We end up snacking through the day instead of eating a whole meal, and that is not helping our situation. And so yes, eating the rainbow, getting those natural colored fresh foods into our bodies is so important. And I think just to help even, the fruits and vegetables are expensive, but there are herbs and spices that we can use that will also help with our inflammation. Yes. So add that cinnamon to your tea, or, turmeric, all of those different things. We need to start using those more in our cooking because they are actually helping our bodies to heal. Yes. Yeah. Okay. Mr. Peets?
Well, I haven't had a lot of individual work with teachers in my clinical experience and practice, but the few that I have had to, working with them regarding grief issues. Teachers do lose loved ones and are grieving just like the rest of us when we have the loss of a loved one. Teachers do also go through divorce, and that is a very, very devastating experience for anyone, and teachers are not exempt from that. But in particular, I think I can remember a couple of teachers over the last couple of years dealing with bullying and harassment in the workplace. So bullying and harassment doesn't just take place on the play field with the kids. Apparently, it also happens in the staff room and in our meetings and whatnot. And what I came away with was, some people were are becoming a little disillusioned about, hey, do I really want to remain in teaching? Should I maybe transition out? And so on and so forth. And a lot of that conversation sort of stems back from just an unhappy, unproductive work environment and, helping them through those types of things. So I'll leave you with this one. People don't leave jobs. People leave people. In other words, if you're a teacher, you love teaching. If you left teaching, it wasn't because you decided one day you don't like teaching anymore. It's perhaps maybe the group of individuals you're working with, that relationship has soured so bad that you either need to be transitioned to another school or you're just disillusioned about the whole process and want to transition out of education altogether.
Thank you very much. And as I listened to all of these responses, one thing that kept coming up was awareness, and for us to be aware of our own physical, mental, emotional health needs, or just where we are, right? And so I think it's important for us to take time to just pause and tap into our bodies, tap into what's my breath like, what's the pace of my breath, are my breaths shallow, am I breathing quickly? Right? Take toll on where through your body, do a body scan. Where am I feeling tension? Where am I feeling pain? What could be contributing that? Be aware of what we're eating on a daily and weekly basis. What am I consuming, right? I promote the 80-20 rule for eating the rainbow. Because when you think about it, we mentioned the fruits and vegetables. Most of the foods that are white and brown in color are the foods that are not good for us. The breads, the pastas, the meats, right? Those are not as healthy. And so it just makes sense that we want to be eating this colorful food. So just kind of take the rest of this week to look at your diet. Look at what's in your fridge. Look at what's in your cabinet. And start to just make those shifts. Tap into your mental health and your emotional health. That mood check. Some of us have the emoji symbols for our children to come into class and kind of state how they're feeling. What about us? What about how we're feeling? And I know one thing, when I was in the classroom, I still do it now, but sometimes I get him at the end of the day and I sit in the car for a few minutes because I'm just checking in and tapping in. And on those days that are particularly stressful, sometimes I have to walk into the house and just make a disclaimer and just let everybody know where I'm at, so that things can run as smoothly as possible. But we have to be aware and honest with ourselves and then do things to make the shift or switch the dial. Yeah. Okay, our next question is directed to Ms. Hollis. So as a physio and heart math practitioner, what can you tell us about how teachers can proactively prevent and manage health issues considering the potential impact of stress and long work hours on heart health?
So I mentioned a little bit of this already about tapping into our heart. And so why don't I just quickly guide you through a heart math practice, because it only takes a minute. So if everyone can sit comfy in their chairs and close your eyes. And before we begin to change anything, just notice your breath. What space is that breath taking up? And notice your body. Can you release any tension around your shoulders? Any tension in your neck? And wherever your breath begins or ends, I want you to try to make it a little bit bigger. So a longer inhale and a longer exhale. Try to send that slow breath all the way down to your belly. And as you inhale, you let that belly relax, let it expand. Wonderful. Continue these long, juicy breaths. And now that you have this slow rhythm, I want you to bring awareness to your heart. Remember, I said our heart is so intelligent. So imagine the breath is also swirling around your heart. And the best you can, you're going to tap into a regenerative, loving feeling. So it's that feeling when you're in your favorite place, surrounded by your favorite people, that feeling of joy and gratitude, the feeling when you smile from ear to ear. And you're going to let this loving feeling radiate throughout your body. So send this loving energy to any areas that need a little bit of attention today. And remind yourself you have the power to heal your body as you stay in the present moment and take big breaths. You're giving your body, each and every cell, exactly what it needs. Beautiful. One more big breath. And together we can come back into this space, slowly opening the eyes. Very nice. So that is something you can do in your car before you get home. So it's like taking a little wash, right? You're just getting rid of the negativity, the heaviness from the day. That's what I call those love goggles. And it was actually a teacher who had this amazing response to this simple exercise, right? So she would get home and she said, Beth, it was just, I would see everything that my kids didn't do right. They were older, they got home on the bus, and they didn't, take out the trash or unpack their lunch kit, and she would come home just firing. She was just angst. And the boys might have done something great, but she couldn't see that. When you're in a negative mindset, you just get out of my way because... So when she put her love goggles on, she started to, walk in the door and see maybe one little task that was done. And she saw that because she was in a better space, right? And then you have a better relationship with the people around you because you also are positive. And listen, this is one big tip. Even if you have someone in your house who is more of a glass half empty kind of person and you are that beacon of light, just keep being the beacon of light because you will help them just from being close to them because you are giving off that good energy. And sometimes, even in the workspace, you have to protect your energy. Some people love to tell you what's happening in their life that's not, but you might not be in a space to receive that. So I've noticed that a lot. They say, I'm doing good, Beth, but everyone wants to dump their stuff. I say, okay, well, make sure you say, listen, I don't have time to listen to that right now. I can't hold that space for you. But I really hope, I'm sending you love, basically. So sometimes we have to also be mindful of how much we give others when we need to make sure our cup is full and protect ourselves. So that's it.
Absolutely. Thank you so much for that moment. To kind of really, we activated our parasympathetic nervous system, and we were able to get ourselves into a rest and digest mood, which is so helpful. And Beth is so right. It's something we can do anywhere, anytime, any place. And don't be afraid to do it with your students in your class. At Barclay, we do a mindful moment over the intercom after lunch. And for those who do take the time out to engage in it, it can really bring you to a place where you can reset and be ready to engage in the next activity. We open our staff meetings and our MTSS meetings with the mindful moment. And, I think it's just great for people to understand how helpful breath work can be to us, right? When we think about our breath, I think it's one of the most underrated tools that we have. if we had to think about breathing, we probably wouldn't be here right now, right? So it's something that happens automatically, but it's something we can also consciously control. And when we first come into this world, the first thing we do is take a breath. When we leave this world, the last thing we do is release a breath, right? And so it's such an important regulator. As women, when we are pregnant, we go to Lamaze classes. What do they teach us? They teach us how to breathe to manage that pain. So it's a pain management tool. When our children are hysterical and crying, or, what do we say? Take deep breaths. Or if we're playing a sport and, we need to regulate ourselves, we tell people to take deep breaths. So this is a tool that we carry with us at all times. And I really, really think we need to use it more to help our bodies to regulate and heal.
I think the challenging part, because I teach people this exercise, right? And some people run with it and do it. And some people really say, Beth, is it that simple? Like, you want me to pause, take a few breaths? And it's almost like they want something that's expensive or really complex. And it's the simple things, as you've noticed a trend of what we've been talking about. It's all things that are, well, not the vegetables, but the rest is free, right? Go outside.
Plant a garden.
Yeah, plant a garden. But investing in those moments, even though you're busy and you don't feel like you have time, right? We have time to sit and scroll on our phone. We have time to watch Netflix. We have time to escape in, lots of different activities, but it is just an escape. So think of breathing as a way of actively calming your nervous system. So we all want to escape, but we also have to put in our time with the calming pieces because we challenge ourselves all day long.
Yes, absolutely, yes. Thank you. Okay, so our next question for everyone. We surveyed over 100 members of our BUT about hotspots that trigger stress during any given school year. Here are the top 5 triggers that were identified. First, Department of Education expectations and demands. Number 2, working with undiagnosed students. 3, managing student behavior. 4, doing lesson plans. And 5, dealing with colleagues. This is for everyone. What advice do you have to mitigate the negative effects of these triggers?
Let me start with perception. Perception is reality. If I perceive something, I cannot control it, then my body responds in a what? Stressful, protective mode. If I perceive something as normal, that this is a reality, then maybe my attitude needs to change, because in reality, this is what I'm going to face. I'm going to face demands that are not appropriate. I'm going to face issues with kids. I'm going to face all of this. So all of this is a part of life. I've chosen this profession, and this is a reality. So what do I do with that now, right? There are things I can change. There are things I cannot change, right? And there is wisdom from above to know what? To accept what you cannot change what you can. So part of it is definitely the mental. Some people come to me, they're, okay, that's a problem. I'll give you an example. A person who is, they have a weight issue and it hasn't been solved. And when they meet the stresses of life, they go right back. They were doing very well, and every time they deal with this stress, they eat. And obviously, it's not a solution because it's creating more stress. So I think it's important to realize the reality of life and then ask myself, okay, so how do I best mitigate this here? Don't allow someone else's issue to infect me. Water off a duck's back. People say things to me, people act a certain way, and it doesn't faze me, because from my perspective, I realize they have an issue. How can I help them with that issue? But that's a point I have gotten. They have an issue. I'm not personalizing somebody else's issue. How can I help them versus me getting so mad that I want to tear them apart? No, that's their reality. Because of their past, because of their issues, that's why they're behaving the way they behave. I'm going to take a deep breath. I'm going to step back, and I'm going to ask myself, is there anything I can do to help this person? But I'm not going to allow it to infect me. I'm going to take charge. I'm going to do the things I need. I'm going to deep breathe. I'm going to, and if there's a seesaw, on one side is emotion, on the other side is reason. So if emotions are high, we cannot what? We cannot engage until we what? Call back. So you pull back and allow them to calm down, and where we can now talk rather than you firing back because of how they're doing. So step away, get away, and allow the emotion of the moment to come down. So, those are some thoughts from that part, but I think that's an important way to go and to understand that. And, you'll be more peaceful. You will have joy in the midst of a storm because you understand the storm.
Thank you.
Oh, yeah, well, the list is, yeah, I can actually read them. Well, I'm not sure if these are actually in order of priority as it relates to how popular they were in their responses, but number one was Department of Education expectations and demands. Well, I guess on an individual basis, it's really difficult for an individual teacher to have any real power and control over those things, but I guess together, something that administrators, teachers, as well as the teachers union can begin to sort of sift through some of those things and see if they can find some resolution. Number two looks like a resource issue, and that is working with undiagnosed students. So obviously there are more students and less assessments being done because assessments require resources, and by the time you get an assessment, the child has moved on, or time to get an assessment, maybe the assessment needs to be redone. Managing student behavior, we get that a lot, and I'm pretty sure Child and Adolescent Services also get that a lot. So my recommendation for that particular one is, of course, teachers are always trained in classroom management and whatnot, but if you're trying to manage 15, 20 kids, this could be a particular troubling problem across education. So involving a team approach for that one might be really, really helpful. But the last one is probably, lesson plans. I would just use the one from last year, but that's just me. Just me, because the one I did last year was excellent. I just need to just brush it up a little bit for this year, make it a little bit more modern for this year, but I wouldn't recreate, the wheel. But I'm not your administrator, so I'm not sure if that's really good advice. But that last one is probably usually in my wheelhouse. And that is, our workplace environment. We spend so much time in our workplace, and when that workplace environment is not healthy, it's not productive, it creates a lot of stress, it creates a lot of problems. There are communication issues, there's productivity issues, and those things begin to spill out over personal issues and whatnot. So if there's an individual who has some struggles in that department, one, most likely, you probably need to establish some healthier personal boundaries. And if you need some support around that, please seek some support around that. Communication is really, really key. I hate the fact that sometimes we have to document these things, but if you really want the situation resolved, you got to communicate it. It's got to be documented so the situation can be addressed. So please be assertive about it. These types of issues don't go away if you just ignore them. Chances are they will begin to accumulate. People's behaviors, if they're inappropriate, will begin to become a pattern. And then once it becomes a pattern, then you'll be expected to respond in the same fashion that you've always responded, which usually creates more internal stress for yourself and frustration. So we've got to stamp that part out. So harassment, intimidation, and bullying, poor workplace communication, those types of things. We're grown-ups. We need to get out of high school and deal with these things and deal with them effectively.
Thank you very much. That boundary setting is very key, and for educators, it's difficult because I think our nature is to give and to help, and so setting this personal boundaries is definitely helpful. Anyone else want to respond to that question?
As I was listening to the panelists talk, I realized how profoundly underqualified I am to answer that question because I'm guilty of everything that has come up today. I want you to know that you're not alone because it spans the professional spectrum. So I'm listening. Thank you.
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah. Good. Okay, yeah, so we see, it's not just us. And one thing that I tell people for stress management is to follow the 4 Ds. And what are the 4 Ds? They are drop, delegate, declutter. And so that's 3 of them, right? So if you are stressed and you have a list of a lot of things to do, look at your list and say, what is it that I can drop? Because we always want to operate in our circle of control. So which one of the tasks, whether they be job-related or outside of the job, can I drop? What can I delegate to other people? Look at your space, right? Is it cluttered? Because when your space is cluttered, your bag, your desk, your closet, then we normally have some mental clutter going on there as well. And so we might need to kind of do some things to help us either clearing our space, which will help our mind, or clearing our mind, which might help our space. And then delay, sorry, that's another D, actually it's going to be 5. So what is it that we can delay on what we have to do? What doesn't have to be done right this minute? And then finally, once you do all of that, you have a shorter list of things that you have to do. So just try and kind of think through this as well to help to lighten your load, because some of these things are not in our circle of control, and we just have to try and manage it the best way that we can. So time management, using the 4 Ds, and as well as setting those boundaries for ourselves can help us to mitigate. My next question is for Dr. Binns. So what are some common foot issues that teachers might encounter due to prolonged standing or walking? And what are some long-term effects if they go untreated? Because we are on our feet most of the day.
Yes. I think one of the things that I noticed with career educators with standing is circulatory disorders, whether it be varicose veins, whether it be deep vein thrombosis, clots, poor shoe choices, standing up in Sunday shoes instead of what should be Tuesday comfortable shoes. At the end of the day, the foot is a mobile adapter, the shoe is a rigid container. You're only as comfortable as the shoe you're wearing. You can't deliver professional service, informed service to your students if you're not comfortable, if you're thinking about how much your feet hurt. With that in mind, with systemic disease processes, you might not realize through nerve damage that your feet are actually sore. And so your feet are torn up by the time you come to us. I think the thing is to remove the standpoint of the foot being an end organ. Say if it's cold, the first thing is cut off is the foot because the body doesn't consider it to be essential. What the body does is prioritizes the internal organs, the heart, the liver, the stomach for digestion. And so when you're standing all day long and you're ill-treating your feet, when you're coming into us, often we're trying to salvage the situation. So the easiest thing to do is to listen to your body. It's to exercise. It's to have regular foot checks, regular checks with your general practitioner, with the other doctors, to prevent problems, not coming to us when you have an issue.
Thank you. That's some great advice. And we are only as comfortable as our footwear. And that's something I think as a system we had to kind of move into because there was a dress code expectation for a certain type of shoe for us to be able to wear. But in reality, sometimes that isn't comfortable and we need to be able to adapt to fit our lifestyle or the demands of our jobs. Yeah. This next question's for everyone. Whether it's a dietary supplement or habit one can engage in routinely, what are some simple ways for educators to reload the mind, body, and spirit? So we'll take, one or two simple tips from each person. Anyone can start.
I will reiterate that taking breathing breaks, right? And you can stack, something I like to help people with is learning how to implement a new habit, because I often find as a physiotherapist, I might give a client 1 or 2 exercises, and they say, yeah, the first few days I did it, and then I didn't, and then right before I came to see you, I remembered and did it again. So what you need to do is called a habit stacking. So coffee lovers, we've already established, we have a few in the house. So if you're a coffee lover, you know you're going to have coffee in the morning. So if you add a habit to your coffee, you know it's going to get done. So if you take a minute to do some big belly breaths and then have your coffee, the coffee is like a reward because you've done the habit. And if you already know the coffee's in, like most of us, you will get the habit done. So you can stack a habit to anything you already do or anything that happens to you. So, you stop at a red light. Oh, that's my cue. I can take some big breaths. So trying to stack things really helps get your habits in. I would add 5 minutes at least once a day of calm breathing and also the walking. So anytime you can get more steps in will be beneficial.
Yeah, for us, we, over these last couple of years, have been asking our clients, particularly with the advent of smartphones and smartwatches and these apps and whatnot, to actually track and monitor their sleep. You'll be really, really surprised if you really pay attention to what some of these apps would reveal to you on the nature, not only of the amount of sleep you're getting, but also the quality of said sleep. When I did my first sleep sort of experiment, you sort of set the timer, so I know what time I'm going to sleep, and I'll stop the timer when I wake up. But during the night, over the course of about 10 days, I realized that about 3 to 4 hours of the night, there is actually no sleep going on, at least not real sleep. It's this restless, turning type sleep. And I'm 53 years old, so if I've been sleeping this way for the last 25 years, then you can imagine how much sleep I'm actually lost. And well, how does that loss of sleep sort of impact mental health? How does it impact my physical health? How does it impact my productivity at work, my attention span, and all those types of things? So sleep is a really, really important part of our overall health. And I would encourage anyone, if you have a smartphone or you have a smartwatch, there are tools on your phone and your watch that will actually help you to monitor what your sleep looks like. And if you notice any patterns in your sleep that are troubling to you, have a conversation with your primary care physician.
The body works on circadian rhythms. There are 24-hour rhythms, your blood pressure and everything. And the more efficient that clock works, the better off you will be. And so the best time to perhaps, let's say you're not sleeping as well as you should, wake up early in the morning, the first 40 minutes when the sun comes up, you want to get that natural light in your eyes, and that helps to reset your circadian rhythms. So you get out and you take a walk, like on Horseshoe Beach, right? Early in the morning, you're breathing in the negative ions from the water, and from the air, right? You're walking back and forth, right? Are you following me? No, you haven't eaten anything, and that's a good thing if you want to lose weight. If you want to lose weight, you want to move before you eat. So your body will burn what's stored and won't burn what you just ate. So you do this 45-minute first thing in the morning along South Shore. You see the sunlight's coming in, you're breathing in those negative ions, and then you go home, right? And what do you do when you go home? You start the day with a nice bowl of oatmeal. Now, oats are very important for a ton of reasons. You add some berries to that, right? And the seeds you want to add to this are pumpkin seeds. And why pumpkin seeds? Pumpkin seeds are high in tryptophan, and the ratio of tryptophan to other amino acids in pumpkin seeds is better than most other foods. Tryptophan turns into serotonin, which makes you feel good. So you add your handful of pumpkin seeds with your bowl of cereals, and then you add to that what? Half a cup to a cup of berries. And why berries? Berries help with mental efficiency. They slow down the mental aging, right? And they're associated with less Alzheimer's and dementia. So you got your berries, you got your carbs, and you got your nuts, your seeds, you got your fresh air in the morning. And if you eat that breakfast the same time every day, that will help set your rhythms for the rest of the day. So you'll sleep better, you'll be more in tune. So get that out of the way before anything else. And of course, spend some quality time to vision your day, right? For me, it's with my Maker, I believe, right? I believe that God, there's a God above. And if I commit myself to Him, He will direct my path. And so I walk with optimism and hope because I've done all those pieces in the morning, and I'm going to have a great day the rest of the day.
Thank you very much. Yes.
I would say don't ignore the stigmas surrounding health in Bermuda. There's a stigma surrounding diabetes. People have it and don't like to admit that they have diabetes. They'll say, I don't have diabetes, but I have a touch of sugar. You have diabetes. A lot of people find themselves in bad situations because of the stigma. Bermuda's a small country, roughly about 65,000 people. Of that 65,000 people, roughly 9,000 people have diabetes. It's one of the highest rates in the world. I would ask, just to show how close Bermuda is, if you're related to anyone in this room, put your hand up. That's indicative of how close Bermuda is. When you look at the genetic makeup of Bermuda and the preponderance of diabetes in Bermuda, everyone's related. The minority groups that diabetes is coming in, if you look at the Native American people, Mediterranean, Black, we have it all in Bermuda and all related. But we all are ignorant to it. I would say don't be ignorant to it.
Thank you. So thank you for all of those tips, and I encourage us all to try them out. Had you answered? You started first, right? Yes. So please take these things and start to just include them into your daily habits and routines. Start small. Beth talked about us starting and then falling off. And I just encourage us all to have grace with ourselves. When you notice you fall off, pick back up, right? And we want to just continuously work at making these changes so that we can improve our health and well-being. And, shameless plug, also in my book, there's a habit tracker, which actually helps us to track and to stay consistent at making these changes, because it's very important for us to be consistent, because the consistency is where those benefits are really going to kick in. So you don't even have to use the book. You can create your own way to just track what you're doing. There are apps on phones, many apps now that you can use. But again, it's that intentionality that's going to help us. So our next question is to Dr. Binns, and I know he answered some of this in that last response. Sorry, not Dr. Binns, Dr. Gibbons, in that last response. But I know he has more to add. So as the husband of a Bermuda public school educator, you know all too well the stresses of day-to-day school with barely any time to eat or use the bathroom. What are some key dietary recommendations that can help boost energy levels and improve cognitive function, considering the long hours and mental exertion involved in teaching?
Okay, I'm going to give you a smoothie recipe, okay? It's called a medicinal smoothie. It's not your typical just, this This has medicinal benefits, okay? And I'm gonna explain to you why each of them are in there. And those components will help with mental health, they will help with energy level, and all of that, okay? So 2 cups of lightly packed greens, and the greens you want are kale, collards, spinach, bok choy. They have the highest concentration of nutrition of all the greens, okay? Now, what we do know is greens have a substance called nitrates, and nitrates turn into nitric oxide and dilate your blood vessels. In other words, if your blood vessels are opened up more than usual, then you're gonna get a good supply of what? Oxygen, right? So your moods are gonna be boosted because of those green nitrates. The ones that are highest in nitrates are arugula, spinach, and collards. So if your blood pressure is high, that will lower your blood pressure. If your performance is not good, you guys, you can't get it up, the nitrates will dilate the blood vessels, okay? So they will enhance performance, they will enhance mental health, they will enhance oxygen delivery. So all of these things are good. Now, if you wanna do the opposite, eat plenty of steak, eat plenty of all of that, and your performance will go south, okay? It will clog up the penile arteries, which are the most narrow arteries. And so once they are clogged up, you're not going to get that blood flow and that erection. You understand where I'm coming from? But we're talking about mental health, right? So you got the greens. You all with me? Okay, the next things are berries. And berries are associated with longer life. They decrease inflammation, they increase energy level, they speed up healing. So a cup of berries. And then a cup of other fruit, because they're not going to be very sweet, right? So you have some bananas, some mangoes, pineapple, whatever else. Okay, so you got that. Now you want to add to that flaxseed. Flaxseed is, if there's any plant that is an amazing healer, is flaxseed. It helps with tons of things I have no time to go into. It helps with hot flashes, it helps with breast cancer, prostate cancer, you name it. It's a king, at least a tablespoon of flaxseed, 1 to 2 tablespoons. And then you're gonna add some herbs. And the ones I would add are turmeric. And if you can get fresh turmeric, that's very good. And in one experiment, 3 individuals, they were heading downhill with Alzheimer's, and they all turned around. A teaspoon of turmeric a day. Within a year, they came back to themselves. So fresh turmeric, at least an inch or 2. Fresh ginger, at least a half an inch to an inch. And good old rosemary helps with mental efficiency. So you can get the fresh rosemary and take about an inch, peel it off, and put it in the smoothie. You got me? Okay. You can add water to that. You can add almond milk to that. Blend this up first thing in the morning, and that's the best energy drink you can have. It's better than caffeine, okay? All right, so that's one thing you can do to start your day, something practical. You'll feel better, your blood pressure will decrease, your weight will decrease, your energy will increase, all of that just with plants.
For sharing that recipe with us. I'm definitely going to go home and try that medicinal smoothie, right? And so smoothies are great tools, great ways to getting in. How many cups of fruits? You've got
more than 9 servings altogether. That's because we can get those 9 servings, and then you got the herbs in there, and then you got the seeds. And if you want another boost, then add the pumpkin seeds, right? They're going to boost your serotonin levels, boost your moods, and make you feel really on top of the world.
Thank you. That's so helpful. Thank you very much. Okay, so this question is going to be for everyone. What do you see as the role and responsibility of employers for the workplace environment during this new era of prioritizing work or wellness balance. So what can our employers do?
One thing that I would love to see is having a space, an environment for wellness. So, a room that's set up with some comfy chairs. You can maybe a headset to do a mini meditation. Really, our environment will dictate how we live, which will help for our wellness. So imagine even a treadmill in there in case it was a rainy day, or a few stationary bikes. So instead of sitting around chatting in the lunchroom, you could sit and be active together. So I think if everyone came together and at their workplace thought of what would really elevate the health in the environment, and starting there so that everything is right at your fingertips for wellness when you have your breaks.
Thank you.
I would like to see, that's a good question, actually. And I have to remove it and go back to the insurance companies to put incentives in place to keep people healthy. Because if people are healthy, they'll stay in the classroom. If they're not, you have long-term absentees that cost the system more because you have to get subs in. So if you stay healthy, incentives in place. So if I don't claim on my insurance, give me $500 back at the end of the year. Yeah.
Yes, incentives will definitely make a difference. Yes.
My recommendation for employers is to understand that employees are not at work necessarily just for a paycheck. What teachers need most of all is not a paycheck. Most of you are doing this because you love this profession. You love teaching, you love giving back, you love helping kids, and you believe in this. What you really need is employers and a work environment that is supportive. So we don't hire resumes, we hire people. And we need employers to see employees as real people, and to create work environments that are conducive so that those of you who love what you're doing can continue to do that at a high degree of proficiency and effectiveness and with a lot of love. The last thing you want to do is drag yourself through your work week, drag yourself through, a work year, or when September or Labor Day rolls around, you're just dreading the sight of the first day of school, which is usually the best day for most parents, right? Which is quite interesting. So parents are excited about the first day of school because we're kind of offloading our kids to someone else. But we certainly want employers to ensure that our workplace and our work environment is as optimal as possible. I think the job of an employer is to make sure that we put the resources that you need to do a good job in the classroom in front of you. So my wife, for example, she fills up the Amazon cart. How many of you fill up your Amazon cart for your classroom? Right, but you do that because you love your classroom, you love teaching, and if the resources are not available somewhere else, you're not going to, have a classroom that is naked, for example. But employers need to understand, hey, listen, teachers are making sacrifices all the way around, weekends, nights, evenings, and they do it because they love it. And our job as employers is to recognize that and produce an environment that will help you to continue to love what you're doing.
When I think of this, I think that the number one priority is the teachers. And the teacher's health and well-being, that needs to be priority, because if the teacher is healthy and happy, they're going to be able to help the students. So the first question is, how can I ensure that all my employees have the best possible health and well-being? And so I structure the classroom and everything with them in mind, because if they are healthy, the kids are going to get the best sort of education. So the question is, how do I ensure that the way we schedule everything in terms of how much workload those teachers have and how much expectation we have, if they're going to be, 9 o'clock doing schoolwork, something's wrong. Maybe we need some more teachers. If our teachers are getting burnt out, they want to leave, all of these are signs that the system is broken. So if you guys are getting all burnt out and you're all, I can't wait for my holiday, you know what I mean? And let me just get out of this school. If that's the case, something's wrong in how education is constructed. We need to pull back and say, well, how do I make sure that they're happy, they're rested, they're healthy, they're eating right, they're exercising, and all these principles of wellness. So how do I structure school to make it so that they can have the best, so that they can say, I want to come to school. And so that's what I think is the challenge for them, to step back and say, okay, it's not grades. No, it's not passing this exam and all of that and be prepared for all of that. If we take care of the first things first, that will happen automatically. So take care of the teachers, make sure they have the skills and the ability and the health and the wellness, and so that they can have that connection with the kids. And then the kids, they're the best kids because we started at the first place, the best place, with the teachers themselves.
Absolutely. Sorry about that. Okay, sorry. Now we're going to take some questions from the mentee. So Dr. Binns, how do we improve foot health when we are always on them? Our feet are tired and sore.
The human foot is a dynamic structure. It's designed to do what we do, but we have to listen to it. It tells us. It's when we ignore pain mechanisms. Oftentimes we think of pain as being something negative. Pain is positive because it's telling you something is wrong and to do something about it. When we run into problems is when we ignore that pain mechanism. So if your feet are sore, you need to address it. Buy sensible footwear. If that doesn't work, seek a professional that can give you advice how to manage it better.
Thank you. Let's stop wearing the letters to work. This one for, I guess, Dr. Gibbons or Ms. Hollis. Our society is so fast-paced, and the school's scheduling reflects that. What effects do you think giving full-hour lunches and less of a packed schedule would have on both the teachers and students? So our lunches are like 45 minutes or even less? No. So what effect do you think that might have?
I think there needs to be a balance between mental and physical, okay? But to your point, if kids are being exposed to mental work constantly, hour after hour after hour, it's not good for retention. They're not going to learn more because we try to push more into them. Doesn't work. You need balance. You need a time for reflection and application of the theoretical aspects of teaching. And in my estimate, I think the best thing is to have an application aspect of it. You do a theoretical application, then you do a real physical application of the theory so that they can learn it. They can see how it makes sense. And of course, having more time, like a break, is a good break from mental, which is not conducive to learning. In fact, there are some schools, I'm just going to throw this out, they have half a day of mental and half a day of physical. half a day of application and half a day of mental. And they do exceptionally well. They do the practical side of things. And I think practical side enables retention. So that's part of it. And I think even more, how do we apply and make it practical?
Thank you.
So it sounds like everyone wants more time on their lunch, which I get it. An hour is better than 45 minutes. But what you have to do is really use your time well when you do have a break. So you might have to even take an inventory at where you're at in that day or even your week, right? Because as we talked about, we always challenge ourselves. And now I want you to add a calming piece, some breathing, some meditation or yoga, a walk to clear your mind, something that you're doing for yourself. And then there's that escape, which sometimes we just have to have a hot cup of tea and relax. So on your 45 minutes, use it as your sacred time. And so that's when you have to look around. And some people, right, they get energized around other people. And other people feel drained after being around other people. So you have to also think where you're at. If I'm going to sit on this conversation with my colleagues for the next 20 minutes out of my 45, is it going to serve me best? Probably not. I have some physio exercises I could go do. And, you could do something for yourself and just be mindful of how you spend your time. So if you have a plan ahead of time, when the lunch hour hits, you're not going to waste that time. You're going to use it productively, because in your morning reflection, you might say, I haven't exercised in a while, so today's the day I'm going to use that time. Or I haven't done any calming. I'm going to do some breathing before my lunch. I'm going to have a mindful lunch, and I'm going to spend time with myself. Or I haven't caught up with my best friend, Bud. We're totally talking today, right? So have a plan, and I think then after those 45 minutes, you'll feel rejuvenated because it was better aligned with your intention.
Thank you very much. Our next quick question would be, if you could someone can give us a tip on how do we overcome the emotional eating or the stress eating, anxiety or depression? Something that can help with that.
There are a number of things. I think one thing I do sometimes is I ask the question, the client comes in and I say, what if you had this friend? They were really a good friend, at least you thought they were a good friend, and you found out, through the grapevine that they were talking behind you or about your back, all the worst and bad things about them. What would you do to that friend? Would you keep them? Would you let them go? And they said, sometimes we have friends with things that really make us feel good in the moment, but in the end, they end up making us feel really terrible, right? And sometimes that's the things we eat. Sometimes we need to reframe our relationship with the things we really love. And an example of one situation was this lady. She had some real health issues, and she loved these triple burgers, right? Whatever, cheeseburgers, whatever. And the therapist says, I want you to reframe your relationship with that. And this is what she came up with. I'm going to call this a widow burger. Did you get the point? She linked that which she really loved with something that would actually destroy her health. So she reframed how she saw it. And so now it wasn't something desirable, but something to what? Get rid of, because it only provided temporary joy, but the end result, she would have been worse off. So reframing how you view something to what it truly, really is. Yes? And that has a way of helping. So that's one thing you can do.
Thank you. That's helpful. Okay, another question from the audience. If a person has been prescribed multiple medications for ailments, is there a facility or program or on the island or a strategy you can offer that can help a person transition off of prescribed medications?
Yeah, I'll take a stab at that one, but also the preceding question. I think your 4 H's will help with that. 4 D's. You know, if someone is not taking a proper break, not taking a proper lunch hour, finding themselves stress eating, they probably got demands upon themselves or expectations upon themselves that are not really sustainable, and they're really engaging in some really poor coping skills and maladaptive processes, which is a symptom of something larger. So if you find yourself doing that, you may have to figure out what's really going on and then try to reorientate yourself and reorganize how you're approaching your work, because that way of solving that issue is actually more damaging overall. But I love the following question. And I would advise them, one, build a positive relationship with your primary care physician. It is possible to get off of some of the medications on which we're on. It's going to require a lifestyle change, which is going to require the individual to really be disciplined and really committed about some things, but it is indeed possible. Other people have done it, and so it is possible. If you're interested in doing that and you need some assistance, talk to your doctor about it. There are programs out there, I would imagine, and individuals out there who can provide some motivation and some support around that. I've seen people, and Dr. Gibbons can attest to it too before. I'm seeing people on diabetic medication for years, and then finally get to a point where they make some lifestyle changes, and lo and behold, you know, the health improves, and you know, they come off the medication. Those testimonies do exist. And one thing I try to at least tell the people that I'm involved in is, if other people have done it, you could do it too, if that's something that you really, really, really want for yourself.
Let me say something about that. It's interesting, you may not be aware of this, but the more medications people take, the more likely they're going to end up in the hospital and the more likely they're going to die. Disease, from my perspective, is an effort of nature to free the system from conditions resulting from the violation of the laws of health. So the body is actually attempting to heal itself. That's why your sugar's going up, your blood pressure and all of this. The body is adapting to the environment you put it in. So if I adapt a healthy environment, then what happens to the blood pressure? Blood pressure goes down, blood sugar goes down, all of these things go down. If I don't adjust my lifestyle and just take a pill, then what's going to happen? My one pill is going to lead to 2 and to 3 and to 4, because I'm not really addressing what? The real issue, right? My lifestyle's out of balance, and I'm just putting a Band-Aid on and another Band-Aid and another Band-Aid until I've got this long thing. You take this at 2, this at 3, this at 4, this at 5, right? That's not health. That's not health care, right? That's sickness care. Health care gets to what? True health care gets to the underlying factors. So I encourage people to adopt healthy lifestyle. And as their numbers improve, they decrease their intake of medication. And a number of people have gotten off all their meds, you know? So, yeah.
Awesome, and I want to add to that. My colleagues and I at Ocean Rock Wellness also believe in that model where it's not Band-Aid medicine, right? Piling medication on medication. The goal really is to have you feel well and come off of those medications. And a lot of times you need to learn the tools to get you there. I'd like to think of medications, from a physio perspective, I might have you use crutches, right? You broke your leg, you need crutches. Do you think you're going to use crutches the rest of your life? Right? It's just a crutch. And so when people go on medications like high blood pressure medication, well, I don't know, they think they're going to have it for the rest of their life, like a life sentence. But if those medications were big and bulky like crutches, sure enough, they would want to come off of those crutches as fast as they could. And so we need to treat them like crutches. You might have high blood pressure, you might have a new prescription you're not happy about, but use it as your motivating factor to do better, right? And when you know better, you can do better because you can make healthier, happier choices. And remember, you guys are the role model. You're the role model for those children, right? My kids look up to their teachers so much. And you know how much I know about their teachers? Because my kids tell me, oh, and they don't like tuna, but they like this. And I'm like, how do you know what your teacher likes, right? They establish such a good relationship, and they see you. So as you can role model these healthy, happy behaviors, you're making my life easier, because my kids come home happy to tell me what their teachers taught them, and it just makes for a healthier, happier community. So thank you guys for being here and learning today.
Thank you. And I just want to add to that, with Ocean Rock, my daughter, my own experience, she was having some challenges, and we went to Ocean Rock, tap into that functional medicine, right? And what they did with her was put her on an elimination diet. And so we cut out things like dairy, glutens, corn, all sorts of different products. And then, we did some testing before, did the elimination, and then started slowly adding things back. And we were able to pinpoint, what was triggering things, what was causing things. So again, it's that awareness piece that can guide the lifestyle changes that we need to make, that can really help us out and help us to get off of certain medications. Some of our ailments are really a result of what we're putting in our body or exposing our bodies to. Yeah.
It's right back to that inflammation, right? If those foods were causing inflammation in that body, well, get rid of them. And everyone needs to know their body so well that they know, what really causes inflammation in your body, what makes you feel good. So of course, if you want to feel good, you have to eat things that will nourish your body. And yes, at Ocean Rock, we take a nice deep dive and try to help you, right, understand the eating piece, the moving piece, the de-stress. And a lot of times it's environmental stuff. You might have moved house, you have mold toxicity going on, and now all of a sudden you're dealing with mold, and everything you thought you knew about your body is not working, right? So there's sometimes these things in our environment, or exposures to toxins, heavy metals, and you have to tweak what you have around you also. The bed you're sleeping in, there's so many factors. Yeah, the fillings in once you take that deep dive and really explore your environment and how you feel, it's amazing how little change is, right? Like an air purifier. There's some kids who were all congested and trying to go to school and focus when they don't feel well. Well, cleaned up their space, air purifier, eliminating some of those foods that really didn't sit well with them, and they can go and learn because they're not feeling unwell, right?
Thank you for that response. Okay, so as we wrap up this rich discussion, I want each of you to leave us with a few words that can help us to be fully charged. One thing while our panelists are getting ready, one thing I would say is create a power half hour for yourself, right? That's one thing I encourage people to do, whether it be a morning routine, a nighttime routine to kind of get you calm and ready for a better sleep, or just time within the day. Maybe you got to do 10 minutes here, 10 minutes there. Whatever works for you, create a power half hour for yourself of self-care or healthy things that you can do and do on a consistent basis that will help to make those changes in your life. So magic mornings, nurturing nights, or whatever you need to do.
Very nice. I want to encourage everyone to invest in your health, right? In the long run, that investment, health is wealth. So I know the veggies are expensive, but in the long run, you're gonna save when you feel good and you're in your 90s still running around with your family. And also, try not to normalize not feeling well, right? A lot of people, they don't feel well. Aches and pains, lots of medications, and just because your auntie, maybe your mom, maybe your sibling also feels unwell, let's not normalize it. Don't settle for feeling like that. You need to feel better to do better and to do your job well. So get anything you feel like you're dealing with, address it, right? Address your mental health. Go talk to someone. Address your physical health. Your body is trying to talk to you, and so you need to pause, listen every day, and take that inventory so that you can feel well again. So thank you.
Well, I guess in closing, I can probably just sort of say the obvious. Obviously, here at Mass, we work with males. Males are probably the least of the two species to actually talk and communicate deep emotional feelings. It's just how men are. So it's not necessarily an awful thing. So what we've been doing the last 2 years is actually encouraging our males to actually journal. And some of you women who journal understand how beneficial journals can actually be. It certainly allows the individual to think about, talk about, and process emotions and feelings without actually engaging in a dialogue with, let's say, another therapist. So a lot of our clients at Mask use a journal that we provide for them, and long after they've left us and have moved on with their life, they continue that journaling process and have found it extremely beneficial. So if you've tried other things, and this is a really simple thing that you can just sort of incorporate into your overall sort of way of running your week and running your life, is to get a journal and begin writing, and allow the journal to actually help you to process some of the things that you're going through.
There is a quote that goes like this. We're probably all familiar with it. He who fails to plan has planned to fail. A lot of times we go to gatherings like this and we say to ourselves, man, that was good. He said something nice. She said something nice. And we go as though we never came. We go back and do the same thing we've done before. Why? Because it's very easy to follow the normal behavior patterns that we have established. It's difficult to go outside of your comfort zone. And so we get up to that comfort zone, and when we feel that push, we go right back, and then we're on this roller coaster. But I want to tell you, if you want to grow, you got to push through that comfort zone. You got to stretch yourself. Many years ago, I was at this place, and there was a mountain, and I decided I was going to walk up the mountain with everybody else. I felt okay at the beginning, but after I started moving up the mountain, do you know how I started to feel? My body was saying to me, what are you doing? But I kept at it. I kept at it. When I got to the mountain and looked over to the valley below, you know how I felt? I felt like $1 million. I felt better than I felt at the foot of the mountain. Why? Because I pressed through resistance. And when you press through resistance, man, you get accept the challenges in life that you may experience the exhilaration of victory. You only receive it when you challenge yourself. So you need to challenge yourself. You need to say, okay, what one or two things am I going to take away from each of these persons? I wrote a note here. Oh, you didn't write a note? Well, maybe you're not intending to do anything. Maybe you're just thinking about, oh, what's next? And if that's your attitude, you're not going to grow. You're not going to develop. You're going to be the same. So I want you to challenge yourself and ask yourself, what one or two things that I can do? And what's the best time to put it in place from my perspective is when you go home, before you go to bed, this is my plan tomorrow. I'm going to get up, I'm going to walk, I'm going to do this, I'm going to do that. So have that plan fully fixed in your mind so when you get up in the morning, you have an intention to do something because you already planned ahead of what you're going to do. So that's my encouragement. And the biggest encouragement on top of that is you have the greatest job in the world because you're shaping the minds of the future. So take it, It's great. It's better than anything else. I don't care what they tell you, doctor, lawyer. No, the greatest work is dealing with young minds. So mold them and do your best. And realize that they come from stress and all sorts, and you do your very best. But in order to do your very best, you must take care of yourselves. So do the best for you, and then you can do the best for them.
I read something once, and it said, if I had known I was going to live this long, I would have taken better care of myself. And sitting here today, listening to the panelists talk today, it hits me again, even more profoundly. As a clinician, I see the end result of when all this stuff doesn't work. And it's not a good picture. Worldwide, 537 million people have diabetes, type 2 and type 1 diabetes. 98% of that is type 2, which Dr. Gibbons will tell you is reversible through simple lifestyle changes. It's predicted that by the year 2050, that number will increase to 1.5 billion people. Bermuda has one of the highest amputation rates in the world. We can change that. Take note.
Yes. Thank you. Thank you very much. Brothers and sisters, let us all come together and show our gratitude for these practitioners who've come out today to share their insight and expertise. We appreciate the time. We appreciate the time they have given us this morning. It's been very enlightening, and I know that I'm feeling inspired and fully recharged as a result, and I'm looking forward to starting to apply some of the things that have been shared going forward. So thank you all. Let's give them one more round of applause. Okay. Thank you very much, and I encourage you all to enjoy your afternoon session. And turn it over to, okay, yep. So we enjoy your afternoon session. Don't forget to go down and visit the expo.